The Supreme Court today permitted the Trump regime to revoke temporary legal protections granted to over 500,000 immigrants under the Biden administration, exposing them to risk of deportation.
We're doing immigration actions all throughout the country. We're not saying we're going to favor one area over another. We're all over the country, in every neighborhood, in every city. And you're going to see an expansion of that. Like I just said, we're going to increase the teams greatly. So you're going to see more teams on the streets you've never seen before. You're going to see more worksite enforcement than you've ever seen in the history of this nation. We got sanctuary cities, or I said, we're going to flood the zone. If we can't arrest a bad guy in the jail, one agent arrests a bad guy in the jail in the safety and security of the jail, which is safer for the officer, safer for the alien, and safer for the community, okay, you're going to force in the community to find them. If we can't find them in the community, we're going to find them at the worksite. So we're going to flood the zone, and sanctuary cities will get exactly what they don't want. More agents in the neighborhoods, more worksite enforcement, because we want to get the bad guy. If you want to make it difficult for us, we'll do it. It'll take more time, it's less efficient, but we're not going to stop until we find that guy.
The court's brief order granted an emergency request from Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, effectively halting a program that allowed 532,000 individuals from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela to live and work in the U.S. on a temporary basis. The order, which lacked an explanation, noted that Justices Ketanji Brown Jackson and Sonia Sotomayor dissented. In her dissent, Jackson criticized the court for failing to consider the profound impact of stripping away legal protections for such a large group of people while their cases remain unresolved. She argued that the decision would inflict devastating consequences on hundreds of thousands of lives. Though the ruling ends the Biden-era protections, affected individuals may still explore alternative options to remain in the U.S., such as applying for asylum. Legal advocates have said that thousands have already started that process, but as we know, the cruelty of the Trump regime has made this process more difficult and unlikely than ever before, despite international law on asylum. The administration's action is being challenged in court, followed by a ruling by U.S. District Judge Indira Talwani in Massachusetts. Talwani had barred the administration from terminating legal status en masse without first making individual determinations for each case. That ruling is now on hold as litigation moves forward. The Supreme Court has effectively given the Trump administration the green light to create chaos, not just for individuals, but for their families, workplaces, and communities. The case is part of a broader pattern, and the Trump administration has repeatedly clashed with lower court rulings that have blocked its policies, particularly as Trump has sought to expand presidential authority without legislative approval. Meanwhile, the State Department is pushing forward a plan to establish an Office of Remigration as part of a sweeping restructuring of the U.S. diplomatic service aimed at aligning with Trump's hardline immigration agenda. Under the proposal, the Bureau of Population, Refugees and Migration, PRM, which previously supported resettlement and managed refugee inflows, would be transformed into a unit focused on facilitating the deportation of migrants from the United States. According to a State Department document, the new office would take on repatriation tracking, assist with voluntary return programs, and collaborate with the Department of Homeland Security and law enforcement to advance Trump's immigration policies. The document emphasized a shift toward helping return undocumented immigrants to their home countries or original legal status. The overhaul is part of a broader reorganization led by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, intended to make the department more agile and better positioned to protect American interests globally. The plan, submitted to Congress this week, calls for consolidating or eliminating over 300 offices and bureaus within the department, which would result in the dismissal of more than 3,400 staff members, though consular and law enforcement staff would be largely exempt. This restructuring follows additional moves to restrict immigration, including an order for U.S. embassies to halt student visa appointments while expanding social media vetting for applicants. Stephen Miller, Trump's top advisor, known for his far-right immigration stance, has been a driving force behind the effort. Miller has long targeted PRM for its support of refugee resettlement and partnerships with organizations seen as pro-migration. The term remigration, now a favourite of far-right movements worldwide, has gained traction in US political discourse. European groups like Alternative für Deutschland have used it to push for mass deportations, and Trump himself has echoed the language, pledging last September to end the migrant invasion of America and return Kamala's illegal migrants to their home countries. If only he was returning people to their home countries. Many people are being deported to high-security prisons and concentration camps in countries that they have never even been to.
There is no sanctuary for illegal aliens in this country. You can call it a sanctuary jurisdiction all you want. It's a bunch of crap, and we all know it. Sanctuary jurisdiction says, well, we want to protect the immigrant community. We want them, the victims and witnesses of a crime, to be able to come to police, report a crime without fear that we're working with ICE. That is a bunch of garbage. But as long as you never get convicted of a serious crime, you're free. No one's looking for you. Games change. We got the greatest president in history of the station sitting in the Oval Office who's going to force immigration law and keep his promise to American people to make this country safe again.
While some within PRM had feared the Bureau's complete shutdown after Trump's elections, Marco Rubio's plan instead proposes transferring staff from PRM's Office of Western Hemisphere Affairs and Office of International Migration to the new Office of Remigration, signaling a dramatic shift in U.S. immigration policy. Stephen Miller said on Fox News earlier this week that the administration was setting a goal of 3,000 arrests by ICE each day, and the number could go higher. President Trump is going to keep pushing to get that number up higher each and every single day, said Miller. 3,000 arrests per day would mark a huge increase in daily arrests from current figures. Between January 20th and May 19th, the agency arrested 78,155 people, which translates to an average of 656 arrests per day. This comes as the Supreme Court earlier this month allowed the administration to revoke temporary protected status for a group of almost 350,000 Venezuelans. The Department of Homeland Security is putting more than 500 sanctuary jurisdictions across the country on notice that the Trump administration views them as obstructing immigration enforcement as it attempts to increase pressure on communities it believes are standing in the way of the president's mass deportations agenda. The department yesterday published a list of the jurisdictions and said each one will receive formal notification that the government has deemed them non-compliant and if they believe to be in violation of any federal criminal statutes. The Trump regime has repeatedly targeted communities, states, and jurisdictions that it claims aren't doing enough to help immigration and customs enforcement as it seeks to make good on Donald Trump's campaign promises to remove millions of people from the country.
I mean, free speech is legal, but there's a limit to that, too.
I'm Anthony Davis. You can find me on the 5 Minute News YouTube channel and podcast, on Wednesdays co-hosting Uncovered, and on Sunday on The Weekend Show with Midas Touch.